up, everybody? It's the Rottweiler Patriots. I'm Vegas.
And I'm T-Bone.
And we're coming at you with another video today where we're going to be doing our predictions for each NFL matchup in Week 3. Last week, we both went 11-5 with our predictions. So that'll bring my total up to 21-11 and T-Bone's up to 19-13. We are going to be competing over the course of the entire season to see who does a better job predicting NFL football games. Feel free to play along with us and post your scores down in the comments section. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Our first matchup, Thursday Night Football. You've got the San Francisco 49ers hosting the New York Giants. The Niners coming off of a tough win over a good Los Angeles Rams team. Able to grind one out in Los Angeles, get a win. Whereas the Giants coming off of a comeback win over the Arizona Cardinals where they looked absolutely abysmal in the first half and were able to get it done in the second half, although how much of that is the Cardinals trying to save the tank, I don't know. Regardless, they did get a tough comeback win, finally scoring points after 6 quarters of play this year. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thanks, Vegas. I like the Giants. I do. First half was pretty abysmal, but they were really getting their crap together that second half against the Cardinals. That being said, Saquon's out, and that 49ers defense is just too good. I just don't think that the 49ers are going to be stopped by the Giants.
I have a very difficult time seeing the 49ers lose to the Giants as well. Alrighty, up next we've got the Detroit Lions hosting the Atlanta Falcons. The Lions coming off of a very difficult overtime loss to the Seattle Seahawks where it looked like it could go either way. Both teams looking really good. The Lions did beat the Chiefs week 1, and they're looking like the favorites to win their division at the moment, whereas the Falcons coming up with an upset loss over the Green Bay Packers last week were able to make the comeback and just beat them out in the fourth quarter after pretty rough first 3 quarters. Desmond Ridder looking pretty good. Bijan Robinson looking like a monster out there. So this one has the potential to be a very interesting matchup. T-Bone, your thoughts?
It is going to be a very interesting matchup. I mean, both teams are pretty interesting. I mean, the run game on both sides. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, David Montgomery. And that being said, I think the Falcons' undefeated streak stops here. Good for them, but I just think the Lions are just too good this season to lose against the Falcons.
I agree. I have a difficult time seeing the Lions lose this one myself, although the Falcons can win it, can make some noise, so we'll see. But Lions at home, I don't think the Falcons do it for a third time, so give this one to the Lions. Alrighty, up next we've got the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. The Vikings fall to 0-2 after a Thursday Night Football loss against the Eagles where they kind of dug themselves into a big pit and couldn't climb out of it. Did make a push late in the fourth, but also played very, very sloppy football. They're committing a lot of turnovers, and that is just not a way to win games at all. Whereas the Chargers coming off of an upset loss to the Tennessee Titans. They've also started 0-2, which is not what they would have hoped at all. Both teams really needing a bounce-back victory this week, so that's going to make this one a very interesting matchup. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thank you, Vegas. Both are 0-2. It's just not looking good for either team so far. It really sucks to see. That being said, Justin Herbert, he's got Keenan Allen. He's got that wide receiver core. Although we may not have Eckler, the Vikings are just not doing well, even though they have Justin Jefferson. So I have the Chargers. The Vikings could win, but I have the Chargers.
I have the Chargers winning as well. I just think they're the better football team right now, and both of their losses were slim losses against very good football teams. Alrighty, coming up next, we've got the Green Bay Packers hosting the New Orleans Saints. The Packers coming off of an upset loss to the Atlanta Falcons where they looked really good for the first 3 quarters of the game, but completely fell apart in the fourth. Jordan Love looks solid, looks like he can run the offense in the way that they need him to. And, like, even without guys like Christian Watson, Packers have been dealing with some injuries lately, so we expect them to get better as Jordan Love gets more familiar and as guys start to come back. Whereas got the New Orleans Saints, who've got a 2-0 start after their second tight victory, this time over the Carolina Panthers, where the game was pretty close for most of the way. Panthers hang in there, and then in the fourth quarter, Saints kind of pulled away, and Panthers couldn't catch back up. But Saints off to a 2-0 start against two teams that they should beat. But they've also got some room to improve. So this one looks like it'll be very interesting. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thanks, Vegas. And you're exactly right. This could be a very interesting game. The Panthers and Saints game was quite close. The Packers and Falcons game was pretty close at the end. It was over, even though it was an upset. However, I think that the Packers are just a slightly more well-built team, a little bit more cohesive than the Saints. And even with Chris Olave getting those dimes yesterday, I've got the Packers.
I got to give the advantage to the Packers in this one as well. At home in Lambeau, I think they're just a more skilled team at the moment, and I think they need a bounce-back victory, so I think they're going to go and get it.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, up next we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Houston Texans. The Jaguars coming off of an ugly loss to the Kansas City Chiefs last week where neither team looked particularly impressive. Jaguars were unable to score a touchdown in that game. Only got 9 points. Now their defense only allowed 17 points to the Chiefs, but I think that was more the Chiefs playing poorly than the Jaguars defense playing well. Whereas the Texans, coming off of a loss to the Indianapolis Colts, the Texans are 0-2, which, I mean, everyone kind of expected. The Texans are not supposed to be a very good football team this year, and they definitely haven't looked like one at all. So I think big-time advantage Jaguars in this one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thanks, Vegas. It was a very upsetting loss against the Chiefs with the Jags. That being said, I think they'll have a nice bounce-back win. I think that C.J. Stroud has taken a step forward, but still, the Jags are just a more complete team, better coaching staff, nearly better everything in my mind. So I've got the Jags pretty handedly.
I have the Jags too. Texans going to need to show us a little more before we give them games like these.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, up next we've got the Miami Dolphins hosting the Denver Broncos. The Dolphins starting the year off 2-0 with two tough wins against good football teams. Coming off of a win over the Patriots last week where they were able to stop them on fourth down by less than 2 inches, whereas the Broncos gave up a giant comeback to the Commanders, then were oh so close to making their own comeback in that game, but fall short after getting a Hail Mary and 2-point conversion. It's a crushing way to lose, and they're 0-2, and they just haven't looked like a very good football team at all. So I don't expect them to do much against the Dolphins, who are easily the best team they've played so far. The two teams they've lost to are not good. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thanks, Vegas. I have been hating on the Broncos and will continue to do so until I see something better. No hate to Sean Payton. He's a great coach. He was a coach of the year, coached a Super Bowl winning team. That being said, Dolphins are just a better team all around, and just the Broncos just are not looking good. Russell Wilson still has some flashes, but they can't get it done. I've got the Fins.
I've got the Dolphins as well. Also, I will note the hate from the Broncos comes to the fact that they did kind of sort of beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl a few years ago. Just saying. Alrighty, up next we've got the Cleveland Browns hosting the Tennessee Titans. The Browns coming off of a very difficult Monday Night Football loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which they have lost Nick Chubb this season to a brutal knee injury. It was so bad the broadcast wouldn't even show the replay. It did not look pretty at all, and they were still able to put up a fight against the Pittsburgh Steelers, The Browns can be a good football team, but Deshaun Watson has to get better. He did not look good at all in that game. It's the team around him that have kept them in games. Whereas the Tennessee Titans, coming off of an upset win over the Los Angeles Chargers, a game they were not expected to win, but the Titans so far have proven that they're a pretty solid football team. Their defense has definitely been able to show up this year. Definitely still some questions on offense, especially with that quarterback position. Ryan Tannehill still not looking great, but the team are finding ways to stay in games, so this could be a very interesting one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I think this is going to be a very close game. I do think, however, the Browns are going to be invigorated by losing Chubb, and Deshaun is going to take a step forward. I think this is going to be sort of an upset. Even though the Titans did win against the Chargers, I just don't think that they can keep up these type of wins. I don't see them winning a lot of games. This is going to be a very close game, but I've got the Browns. I think they're going to be invigorated with the loss by the Steelers. So I've got the Browns, actually.
I've actually got the Titans winning this one. I actually think this is going to be the only one we disagree all week. But I think the Titans are a better football team than the Browns, and the Browns' biggest weapon, and Nick Chubb being out for the year. I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to get wins without him. Alrighty, coming up next, we've got the Washington Commanders hosting the Buffalo Bills. The Commanders coming off of a comeback win over the Denver Broncos. Sam Howell looking decent. Definitely still got some things to work on, but he definitely showed some improvement in Week 2. Commanders off to a 2-0 start, which isn't a huge surprise given the ease of their schedule. Cardinals and Broncos aren't exactly good football teams at the moment, so there's no surprise there. Was the Buffalo Bills coming off of a blowout loss over the Las Vegas Raiders. It was a much-needed win for them after a tough Week 1 loss to the Jets on Monday Night Football. I think the Bills are at a large advantage in this one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I'm loving what the Commanders are doing. I'm loving Sam Howell. He's doing good. He's got 500 passing yards so far. Good stuff. That being said, the Bills are the Bills. Even with Josh Allen in his postseason form, no, the Bills are just a monstrous giant that will not be stopped by a team like the Commanders. Maybe in a few seasons they will, but until then, the Bills will steamroll right through them.
I agree. Bills, much better team than the Commanders. Honestly, we're barely able to beat some of the worst teams in the leagues. So, I don't think that bodes well for them. Alrighty, coming up next, we've got the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Indianapolis Colts. The Ravens coming off of a Week 2 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Even without J.K. Dobbins, they still looked pretty good against a struggling, but regardless, good Bengals team. Definitely fortunate with the whole Joe Burrow injury situation. At the moment, the Bengals definitely have a lot of questions surrounding them at the moment, but regardless, the Ravens have started off 2-0. And right now, we're looking like favorites to win the division, whereas the Colts, coming off of a win over the Houston Texans, a game they were expected to win, but they continue to look good. Anthony Richardson continues to look good if the Colts can keep him healthy. He's definitely got to take Lawrence's advice about the hits adding up and whatnot. But the Colts still, I think, have overperformed for what everyone expected for them this year. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I see a lot of Cam Newton in Richardson, which is scary because Newton had such a high, but it ended so quickly. So he does need to watch out for those hits. That being said, Colts are doing good, better than I expected for sure. But then again, it is the Ravens. Ravens have a solid defense, not the greatest defense, but pretty solid. And even though they're not looking great, they are performing and they are winning. And Lamar Jackson is making a couple of plays. So I just don't think that the Colts can hold a candle to the Ravens, even when they're like this. Ravens do have to get their stuff together, though.
I agree. I think the Ravens are the better team right now, and I think we just need to see more from the Colts, even though they have
Yep.
looked better than expected.
Yep.
Alrighty, up next we've got the New York Jets hosting the New England Patriots. The Jets coming off of a big-time blowout loss to the Dallas Cowboys, looking much more like the Zach Wilson-led Jets of last year, although admittedly the Cowboys are looking like a very, very strong contender this year. But still, with Zach Wilson at quarterback, a lot of questions for that Jets offense. Whereas the New England Patriots, coming off of a difficult loss over a very good Miami Dolphins, where they dug themselves into an early hole and just failed to climb out of it at the end, coming up inches short on fourth down yet again. But they have been highly competitive in games against some of the best teams in the league, and they've shown that they can play with them and even outplay them at times. So this one could be very interesting. I think both teams are looking to get a bounce-back win. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Man, Vegas, you sure like to bring up that 4th and inches a whole lot.
It happened twice. What do you expect?
Oh, it'll keep happening. Regardless, if Aaron Rodgers led these Jets, I'd absolutely have the Jets sweeping the Pats. That being said, Zach Wilson needs to get his crap together, and it does not look like he's doing so. Even though it was against the Cowboys, he is not doing good. That Pats defense is quite nice. Quite nice. I think once they tweak a few things on offense, they can get the stuff rolling together. So I've got the Pats handedly whipping the Jets this time.
I've got the Patriots winning as well. Patriots have just completely owned Zach Wilson every single time they've played. I don't see anything different. Belichick.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Belichick will definitely find a way to make it happen. Alrighty, up next we've got the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Seahawks coming off of a tough overtime victory over the Detroit Lions. They looked much better in that game than they did against the Rams. Geno Smith looking pretty good, and great bounce-back victory for them, and where they're coming up against a Panthers team who haven't had the start to the year that they wanted. 0-2, coming off of a tough loss on Monday Night Football to the New Orleans Saints. A game that they were in for a good 3 quarters, and then the Saints just pulled away and couldn't quite catch back up. So, a lot of questions for the Panthers, less questions for the Seahawks. They were able to answer some of those this past week. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thanks, Vegas. Though the Panthers did beat the Seahawks last year, and I do think that the Panthers can win this game, it's not going to happen. The Seahawks are just too much of a better team all around. Defense, nice. I fear for Bryce Young and throwing it in the air before Tariq Woolen plucks it out. Geno is looking much better, and just the whole Seahawks team is just more cohesive, which is obviously figures, go figures. So I've got the Seahawks pretty handedly beating the Panthers. Oh, I love them so.
I've got this as a win for Seattle, too. I just can't see Carolina coming into Lumen Field and winning that game. Alrighty, up next we've got the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Chicago Bears. The Chiefs coming off of an ugly win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they got the win against a probable playoff team, but it did not look pretty at all. Still a lot of questions to be answered for this team. Can they do it again? Is it just a slow start? Is it just a Super Bowl hangover? Or is there something deeper wrong with them? Whereas the Bears, well, the story with the Bears is they just flat out stink. They are not a good football team by any stretch of the imagination. And their 0-2 start definitely confirms that. Justin Fields is continuing to show that he is not the guy. So, this one, on the surface, seems like it's pretty cut and dry. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Rest in peace, Justin Fields. I mean, going against the Chiefs, Chiefs defense I mean, I'd say it's pretty good, but it's not a star-studded. When I think of Chiefs, I think defense. But Justin Fields is just so bad. I think he'll make the Chiefs defense look good. I see no way the Bears will win this at all, unless it's like one of those Colts games last year where they upset the Chiefs. I don't see it happening. Chiefs win this. I may even bet my mortgage on this.
I think the Chiefs win as well. This should be a pretty comfortable victory, and this will be an opportunity for them to figure some things out that they need to. Alrighty, up next we've got the Arizona Cardinals hosting the Dallas Cowboys. The Cardinals had a good first half against the New York Giants, and either they don't want to talk about the second half or they're proud of the second half because they're keeping the tank alive. Who knows? But regardless, the long and short of it is they are not a good football team, and they are not trying to be a good football team. Whereas the Dallas Cowboys are looking like Super Bowl contenders 2 weeks in. They have looked absolutely spectacular. Just spanked the Jets hard. And you know they enjoyed that. But just a good football team with Super Bowl aspirations. So this one also looking pretty cut and dry. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Yeah, at this point, I think the Cardinals may even try to lose this one. I don't even know what's going on with Kyler Murray at this point, but Cowboys, I've said all the names before, I'll say them again. Parsons, Gilly, Diggs, and then you got that offense. The boys are going to handily beat them, destroy them even.
100%. I do not see any way that the Cardinals win this game. Alrighty, up next we've got the Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Raiders coming off of a big blowout loss to the Buffalo Bills, a game they were expected to lose handily. Just didn't look good. Not having Jacoby Myers didn't help, but the Raiders just in general are not a good football team, whereas the Steelers kind of been underwhelming their first 2 weeks. They had high hopes after a good offseason, but just haven't looked that good at all. Got murdered by the 49ers, barely able to beat the Browns after Nick Chubb went down early. Did get the win, did grind out a tough win, and those division games are always tough, no matter who's playing and no matter who good or bad those teams are. So, but regardless, neither team's looking great. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Neither team is going to look great. This may be a hard watch. It sucks to see Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs' careers wasted. Adams may even want out. That being said, even with those star-studded offensive players, I think the Steelers' defense is kind of a sleeper. I think they will definitely run all over the Raiders, and Kenny Pickett may even take a step forward. I've got the Steelers. This will be a hard and close game.
I think the Steelers are going to win as well. I do think that their defense is a good unit, and I mean, having TJ Watt alone makes them a good unit, so I think the Steelers have the advantage in this one. Alrighty, up next we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. The Buccaneers off to a surprise 2-0 start, coming off of a win over the Chicago Bears last year. Baker Mayfield is looking to have a career resurgence. He's looked good through 2 weeks. The defense has looked pretty solid through 2 weeks. Owned Justin Fields last week, got a pick six. It's looking good for Tampa early on, whereas the Philadelphia Eagles, still one of the best teams in the league. Bit of an ugly win over the Vikings, but their defense generated a bunch of turnovers. Were able to get the job done, and, Thursday night football games, you don't always see the best of a team because less preparation time. It can get a little bit sloppy sometimes. Regardless, I do think this can be a very, very interesting matchup, but I still give the advantage to the Eagles. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Very interesting matchup indeed, Vegas, and Buccaneers are 2-0, good for them, but the buck stops here. It's the Eagles. The Eagles got it. I see even though they're having a little bit of a hangover, I see the Eagles continuing their push for their QB sneak push. for wins.
I agree. I think the Eagles are just too good for the Buccaneers, although I think we can learn how good the Bucs are this week. Alrighty, up next we've got the Cincinnati Bengals hosting the Los Angeles Rams. The Bengals starting 0-2, and I don't think anyone expected that. Coming off of a tough loss to the Ravens, where didn't have a good first half, made a second half push, but fell just short, whereas the Rams are looking better than I think most people anticipated heading into the season. They did lose to the 49ers this week, but the 49ers looking like the best team in the league, and the Rams put up a pretty darn good fight. So this one's looking like it'll be interesting. The Bengals desperately need some sort of bounce-back victory. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Bengals do need a bounce-back victory. That being said, I don't think it's this one. It's even touch and go if Burrow can even play in this on account of the re-aggravated calf injury. And the Rams, really, I mean, they've got that rookie wide receiver. They're just playing better than I thought they would. They're doing it. They're playing the game of football, and they're winning games. So I've got the Rams on this one. Even if Burrow comes back, I'm not even sure he can manage to get this win. I don't doubt Burrow's ability. I'm just saying early season is always rough for the Bengals.
I agree. I think the Rams definitely have the big advantage in this one. I do think they're going to be able to go into Cincinnati and get the win. So that's it for games for us. We only disagreed on one, and it was Browns versus Titans. So Our records are only going to differ by one. So the question is, am I going to increase my lead, or is T-Bone going to cut it in half? We shall see. It's looking like a fun week in the NFL, though. Alrighty, that is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button. Please be sure to subscribe, and we will see you all in the next video.